Mai Chen, thank you very much for joining me.
You're welcome, Jane.
Yeah, it's great to meet you and I appreciate your time.
That's right.
Just to kick this off, Oompher is all about inspiring people to achieve extraordinary things. So who and what during your life and career has inspired you?
Oh, I've been inspired by all sorts of people over time, and I think the key thing is people always say, oh, well, you know, who were your inspirational people? Well, everybody inspires me, actually. I mean, you inspire me. You've come out to do something that's important and good. I think you have to be inspired every day, otherwise you're just going to run out of juice.
Yeah.
A lot of people get burnt out. And so the key thing is not to have one person or another person. I have a lot of people.
Okay.
You can look around you every day and be inspired by what people do.
Okay, and I can imagine in those early days, I mean, your parents must have been a huge inspiration leaving Taiwan, coming over to New Zealand when you were so young. I mean, a huge move. I mean, that must have been...
Crazy.
Yeah.
A crazy move. But in the end, it was to our benefit. And the first 10 years were pretty tough. But, you know, I look back and I think they were in their 30s. They had 4 children under 12. They had no money.
Yeah.
You know, they were both enormously talented, and that's why they were recruited to come to New Zealand. Dad was an Olympics gymnastics coach.
Wow.
And he was brought to New Zealand to train the team.
Yeah.
But, you know, Mum came too, and she's hugely talented, and they left their families, and they didn't know anybody here. We were the first Taiwanese family in the South Island. They didn't. Dad spoke a bit of English, we didn't speak any.
Yeah.
So when I think about that, I think that's where I learnt to get an appetite for risk.
Absolutely, and I mean, what an incredible start that must have been, and then moving through school. I mean, when you left Otago Girls High, I mean, you're a head girl, Ducks, best all-around student. I mean, it's incredible. So when you arrived in 6, not being able to speak much English, as you say, to undergoing that, I mean, how do you reckon you learnt so much and just developed so much?
I think that necessity results in you digging deeper. A lot of people say to me, gee, you know, you're great at strategy, you're great at problem solving. Look, in terms of Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours, I've had more hours than anybody. I started problem solving when I was 6. We arrive in a country, you're not known, people can't say your name. Actually, my name is misspelt. When you don't have any resources, well, you just got to use what's around you. So I'm very good at assessing a situation and figuring out how to get out of a fix. I've done it a lot. So, you know, when you don't have a choice, you dig deeper, you find you can do it. It was tough. I think I had my midlife crisis at 9. I don't need to have one now in midlife because I've had it.
And when you finished school, I mean, why did you decide to get into law? What attracted you to that profession?
Well, I wanted to be a professional athlete because my mum and dad are both elite athletes, and I loved all sports, and I was good at track and field. But my mum and dad were very keen for me to have a profession. Dad had been a coach in an era where it was still amateur and not professional. He was very keen for me to get a profession. As he said to me, once you get your law degree, you can do sport, you can do anything you want. But of course, once you've got your law degree, I was also very good at public speaking. And so my mother was very keen for me to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be a lawyer, but I had a dream. And I had a dream where I was feeling incredibly satisfied. I remember feeling very good about it, and I was helping people in that dream as a lawyer. So I got up and enrolled in law school. Okay,
and after you finished training, there was no desire to go back into sport?
Well, I graduated with an honours degree. I graduated top class. I started teaching, and then I went to Harvard. And I think by then my sights had turned to other ways in which I could make a contribution. Being a sports person is always going to be incredibly important to me. It's a part of who I am. And when I'm not sitting down studying, I'm out with my border collie and we are running.
Nice. So if a young person comes to you now and says, you know, May, I'm thinking about getting into law, what are the good parts and the bad parts? I mean, what do you say to them?
Well, the good parts are that the training is a good foundation for a range of other careers. Also, in law, if you do the hard yards, you can have the career you want, but it's always hard. And the downside is you can't wing it, and law is incredibly personal. It doesn't matter if you've got a dozen juniors. At the end of the day, you're the one that has to stand up on your hind legs and make a fool of yourself if you're not prepared. The key thing with law is that you always have to work hard. And it doesn't matter what stage of your career you are at. When I was training, I thought, oh my God, I'm never going to have to work this hard. It's fantastic. I've now graduated. But actually, that was really the start of the hard work. Even at Harvard, I worked hard. but not as hard as I work now. Because the reality is that what we do now affects everyone's lives on a daily basis. So if you're not match fit, if you're not really working at something, then really you're doing your clients a disservice.
Yeah, a bad day at the office can be pretty bad for
true.
clients.
And also law can be very technical and very detailed. I've been very fortunate. I specialised in a form of law which people hadn't practiced in before in the private sector, and it's been successful. Clients have found that they've needed it, and I've loved it. So I've been fortunate. But what I say to young people today is this: it's great to train as a lawyer, but then you need to think about what you want to do with it. It's about converting it, and that training of your mind into doing something that you think can really make a difference. For me, I've been fortunate because I haven't just been grinding away at transactions every day. I get a lot of lawyers applying to me, Jake. They're really bored. You know, they've been doing the same thing for 10 years. The key thing with a law degree is to think about how you can use it to help other people. That requires being creative, and in order to be creative, you need to inspire yourself. Yeah.
So you say you get a lot of people applying. I mean, what is the person you will accept? What do they have that's different than the rest?
Well, they've got to have a first-class honours. They've got to have absolutely fantastic grades. They have to show me that they're a fantastic black-letter lawyer, but that's the start. What I need to see is that I've got a driven person who is self-motivated, not motivated by me, not because I'm saying you need to do this or that. They're turning in the best piece of work because they want to be the best. And also that they are creative, they're flexible, and they're open. The key thing with being a lawyer is that you're always learning, and every day you come to the office you're becoming an expert in something new. I need someone who is endlessly curious and endlessly open, because otherwise I give a solicitor a problem and they say, oh, this looks very bad, they can't do it, they're in trouble. And I say, well, yes, they know that, that's why they came to us. There's no point telling them they're in trouble. The question is how you fix it. So I need somebody who can fix things, who can think creatively, who isn't saying, oh no, you can't do something, who says, actually you can, but you just need to change a few things. So it's a different way of looking at a problem. I also need someone who can take a problem and just turn it on its head. Not the stock standard, no. Look, if you can't walk through walls, it's not a good idea to come to my firm.
Right. And what trends do you notice across in New Zealand, I mean around the world? You obviously see all of these high-profile lawyers who are doing amazing things, and some examples would be like obviously yourself, late Greg King, Andrew Harmos, I mean Judith Ablett-Kerr, these amazing people. I mean, what do you see that the most incredible lawyers seem to do differently than everyone else?
Well, they do the same thing as everybody else, which is that they work really, really hard. But I think some of the differences are that they have identified a niche and they are really good at it and they're passionate about it. Now, you're not going to be really good at anything unless you really work at it and unless you really like it. That's the way it works. And also that they're adaptable, they're flexible, they're able to take that area but then adapt and evolve it in a way that's needed. We're in a world now which is quicker, faster all the time. Darwin said, the race is not to the smartest and it is not to the strongest. It is to the most adaptable.
Right, okay. And for just coming back to those young people coming out of law school and so on, if they want to surround themselves by just amazing industry professionals, does it really come down to talent, or are there other things that you recommend for people as well?
There's a package that's required if you're going to succeed in the law. Talent is not enough. As an employer, I have seen numerous talented people who never made it. It's a combination, and it goes like this. You have to have talent, but it's about character. You have to have the stickability. You have to stay in the game. You have to persevere. Law is always hard. There are ups and there are lots of downs. You'll have your wins and you'll have your bad days where you've tried really hard and a judge has just kicked you all around the court and thrown you out. That's not your fault, but you can always improve. So you have to be talented, you have to be able to persevere, you have to have character. But on top of that, you have to be prepared to work hard. That's the difference. Most of the talented people that I've known who've never made it can't stay in the game and are lazy. They don't work hard enough. You've got to have the package and you've got to be driven. You've got to be self-motivated. So many people say to me, oh, come on, May, you've got to inspire us. You need to motivate me. No one can motivate you. You have to motivate yourself. That's the most important thing. And you have to be curious. There's no point. If you're bored with the subject matter, you're never going to be any good at it. So people say to me, oh, you're always doing something new. I'm inspiring myself. That's what I'm doing. I'm inspiring myself to greater heights. You know, I'm a sprinter.
Yeah.
Sprinters always want to know how much faster they can run.
Yeah. And when you came out of Otago with your first class degree in honours, and then went to Harvard, and obviously did incredibly well there, and then did some time at the UN and Victoria University and lecturing. What was it that I guess? Why did you decide not to go into private practice straight away? And then
I had always wanted to be a law teacher.
Yeah.
I came from a family of teachers. My mother was a teacher. My father was a teacher. Nobody in our family had ever been in private practice before, so it was new territory.
Okay.
And on top of that, my mum and dad wanted me to be the youngest law professor in New Zealand. At the time, I was the youngest senior lecturer in law in New Zealand, and I didn't know what that world held. Also, when I was going through law school, I just about left. I was in the honours class. I didn't think I was very good in law. I used to put up my hand all the time and ask questions, which just made me a nuisance with the lecturer. I used to ask him why the law was like that. I mean, I could tell him, I could answer the questions as to how the law worked, but I wanted to know why it was like that, because I thought the law should be different. And so I thought that the law wasn't for people like me, and I was wrong, because actually I graduated top class, equal, and I thought, okay, well, I can't be that bad at it, and then I went to Harvard and I won a prize for the best thesis on human rights. So then I thought to myself, well, maybe there's a lot of other people out there who could make a great contribution in the law, but go to law school and get turned off. So I wanted to go back there and be there for those people. But it wasn't until Geoffrey Palmer really came to the law school after being Prime Minister, and he said to me, actually, there isn't anything else you can learn here. And I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to stay, I'm going to be a law professor. He said, if you really want to learn some new stuff, you need to go into private practice. So actually, without his encouragement, I probably would have stayed in academia and not left. I quit my tenured senior lectureship. I went into private practice, but my intention was 3 to 5 years, and then I'd come back.
Okay, wow.
The only thing is, Jake, I found that I was okay as an academic. I was quite good, but I was much better at private practice. So I've always taught, though. I've taught throughout my time as a practitioner, and as you know now, I'm still an adjunct professor at the law school at Auckland. So I've always taught, but I just find private practice just the ultimate challenge, really. It's always hard. It's always different. You just think you're on top of something, and then a wave knocks you off your board. It's great. It's really hard.
I can imagine.
And now that I'm doing governance, as well as sort of my pick of big instructions, that's a new wave to surf. It's hard. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. So for young people coming through today, do you recommend just get straight into private practice and just challenge yourself from day one? Or?
I don't regret my years in teaching. I'll tell you why. Do you know what I do every day with a client? I've got a new client coming very shortly. What am I going to do with him? He's a chair, he's in trouble. I'm going to be explaining to him what the law says and what his options are. So my years as a teacher were incredibly helpful to me. Also as an academic, you don't just know little bits of law that you got instructed or paid to advise on. I know everything, because when you're a law teacher, you have to know the entire field. So look, I don't think it matters where you start, Jake. The important thing is you've got to be excellent. Whatever you do, be excellent. As I say to young people today, the future is to those of you who know specialisation, what you're great at, and then you dominate it.
Okay, and when you started out, talking about the private practice with Sir Geoffrey Palmer, you've said before, you mortgaged your house to start the firm, and that must have been pretty terrifying.
Well, actually, in retrospect, when he asked me, it never occurred to me. I said to him one day, why didn't you choose another person who was older, and you could have chosen someone just like you, Geoffrey? Because there were tons of them, and he had lots of friends in the area, and he said, he said something kind. He said, look, it wouldn't have worked as well with any of them. I thought you'd be good at private practice, but he said you're really good. But then he also said no one would have been mad enough. Well, I didn't actually think I was mad. He told me the vision. It was clear to me that was the right thing. It never occurred to me that it was a dangerous thing to do. I just thought, okay, well, we're just going to do this thing. It's turned out to be a lot harder than I thought. Had I known, I wouldn't have done it. But, that's life. It's everything. It was a crazy thing to do. And the key lesson there is marry someone who lets you do mad, crazy things you want to do. Because my husband could have said, no, you're not doing this, You've just quit your tenured senior lectureship. You're now about to quit a tenured position at Russell McVeigh where you're doing really well.
Yeah.
You want to mortgage the house and you want to start what? Oh, something that no one's ever practiced before. In a boutique law firm, and you're like, there are no other boutique law firms in New Zealand, but he didn't. He said, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, I'll back you. So there you are, and that's history.
Yeah.
But the first 2 years were touch and go, I tell you.
Yeah.
In fact, when I started the firm, Jeffrey wasn't here. He was in the States teaching. And so it was pretty challenging. In fact, he was away for most of the first year from memory, because then he got appointed to the United Nations. He was on some climate change gig. Climate Change Wales, I can't remember, but he wasn't here. And I remember saying, hey, look, we've started this firm and I've never been in private practice before and you're not here. And we've got all this work and, I'm just doing my best. When are you coming home?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we got through it.
Yeah, and what's next for you now? Have you got some plans for the future?
Well, I'm really enjoying my appointment to the BNZ board. And so I've got some other governance opportunities, Jake, and I'm going to take that. Remember, life is about challenging yourself and about inspiring yourself.
Yeah.
So this is my 29th year as a lawyer. I have 30 years in the law that I can leverage off. But of course, we've got all sorts of things happening now in business and industry.
Yeah.
It's not about digital disruption. We've always known that. It's really about demographic disruption. I'm doing a super diversity stock take at the moment.
Wow.
I've set up a super diversity centre for law, policy and business.
Yeah.
And we're going to get a stock take out this year. It's going to help every New Zealander, every business, every school, every hospital to just get their mind around the fact that they're dealing now with really quite a transformed demography. A lot of businesses are still focused towards an Anglo-Saxon population. That's great. But in Auckland now we have 50% Maori, Pacific and Asian, and that really poses a lot of social challenges for us in terms of social capital.
Yeah.
So if we want to continue to get the greater export dollars and the greater financial investment and all of the benefits of diversity, which are generally greater productivity and greater innovation, then we need to make sure that we're meeting those challenges.
Okay.
So, no, lots to do. The key thing is keep going, keep making a contribution, keep inspiring yourself, keep making sure that whatever you're doing is a big challenge. For me, taking on the BNZ board is like picking up a rock and throwing it at the tiger. I am running at the moment, so I don't get eaten.
Yeah, fantastic. So just a couple of quick fire questions to finish. What do you reckon the 16-year-old Mai Chen would think of who you've become today?
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of things I've managed to achieve. But I just try and focus on what I've managed to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get a bit down about it, I think. There's a lot of things that I just wasn't able to do.
Okay.
There's a lot of times I've failed. But what I think is this, that I'm going to die. If I'm lucky, I've got 20 good years professionally before I start getting old and creaky. So what I want to do is I want to wake up every day and I want to fire. I want to do something big. And in fact, I've redefined the definition of success for me now. Okay. It isn't just building my CV. This is about living a big life. I want to live a big life and I want to make a difference. So if I was to give some advice to my 16-year-old self, the big piece of advice is simply this: get on with it, girl. Get off that chair. Stop waiting for the conditions to be perfect. Because you know what? It never ever is going to be. So just get on and do it. The one thing that I've learned that has helped me more than anything else in my life is that I'm going to die and it's still not going to be perfect. This is all I am. And there's lots of stuff I can't do, but hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff I can do. Get on and do it. Yeah, totally. Awesome. So to finish off, Mai, can you look down this camera here and tell us, what are your wise words for the people of New Zealand? Well, everybody comes with a history, and a lot of people come and tell me about their woes. I'm not this, I'm not that, I wasn't born this or that, I didn't have this advantage or that advantage. Let me tell you, most Nobel Prize winners came from a difficult background. And if you've had a difficult background, I say you are lucky, because that gives you the motivation and the inspiration to get up, get on and make a contribution. Look at some of the great New Zealanders that we've had. Look at people like Sir Ray Avery. He was born and he was an orphan and he lived under a bridge, and look at him now. So what I say is this: don't regret who you are. Don't regret your history. Embrace it and use it as motivation. And use it as inspiration to get on and be all you can be. Yeah, you're not perfect, and life's not perfect. Well, suck it up. That's the way it is. And when I die and I'm lying on my deathbed, there'll still be a lot of things that I won't have done. There'll still be bits of me I'll still be perfecting. I may still never have painted my masterpiece, But by God, I'll have had a go.
Awesome. Mai Chen, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Cheers. That was awesome. Thank you.